Continuing our crossover Thursday, Locked On Bears, Locked On Vikings podcast. I'm Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears alongside Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings. And as always, our crossover Thursdays are presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Luke, for me, this game for Chicago comes down completely to like, will they have a plan that works for what Brian Flores is going to throw at Caleb Wood?
Like, okay, we can figure this out. So what do the Bears do? Like, what is their preferred option when a team shows blitz? What do they want to do? Do they check into a different play? Is it a hot route? Like, what do they want to try to do?
Well, for the first, 8 games of the season, it was have everyone run deep routes and hope that Caleb Williams can hold on to the ball long enough to get rid of it.
So it's scramble. Like that is an option that some teams do. Like that's perfectly valid on paper.
Yes, but last week against the Packers, it was much more, get something going, like a pre-snap motion into a play where a receiver can run a quick route and get that sort of head start on the motion there. It's have a running back just sort of chip and release, so you've got an option to get to there, or a receiver on a quick route to something to the outside. They didn't hit the middle of the field that much, but it's like give Caleb a quick 3-step concept towards the sideline to get rid of the ball and not let the pressure get up in his face.
Interesting. So that reminds me of Monday Night Football last year. That the Vikings, the Vikings, Josh Dobbs threw 4 interceptions and ended up benched the next week. Where that's one of the funniest next gen stats passing charts of all time, because it was 22. I remember 22 perimeter screens or throws behind the line of scrimmage. It was all they did. So I wonder if you're going to see something similar, where the Vikings probably really want you to do that. Brian Flores loves it if your offense becomes like check down merchants. And if everything is just going to be, little shots to the flat, they have a better tool against that. I think shots to the flat last year, late last year, were a little too good against them. They cover it a little differently now, where they have corners playing a little bit further upfield so that they can, tackle those down a little bit better. So if you're going to motion stuff out and get, a lot of little quick flippies, we're going to have a 2.7 depth of target and, a completion percentage of 80 and a whole bunch of 3 and outs. That's probably the Vikings vision for this. And whether they actually send those blitzes or not, if they can just show it and force you into those ideas and force Caleb to really be looking at that check down really hard, they'll be perfectly happy with that, whether they back out or not.
See, and even that represented progress for this Bears offense. Just getting to the check down and getting to the quick release play was oh, great. So it's a 3 and out, but at least it was 3rd and 2 instead of 3rd and 10 this time.
And so we just don't want it anymore with Caleb Williams. We don't want him to blitzer, let's evade and go make something. We don't want those scramble drills. I know DJ Moore on the scramble drill has been a thing, but is that we just don't want that anymore? We want please just be a pocket quarterback.
They only want that as a last resort, right? And too often that's had to be sort of the only resort, because the pressure gets there before anyone's open, or the pressure disrupts the timing of that first read, and then it's scramble drill stuff, and then you got players kind of freelancing a little bit too much, and they're not on the same page there. So against Green Bay, Caleb was much more inclined to just take off when he escaped. They weren't having to hang behind the line of scrimmage and wait for something to get open and then just kind of throw it away. It was just screw it. If you're under pressure, go. Just run, just go, just take off, get the 7 yards that you can scramble, and don't worry about making the backyard football hero throw just yet. One step at a time.
Gotcha. So I think here's what this one comes down to then for me, because that will compress the Bears offense a lot. I bet that the offense compresses a lot here, as they just are going to walk in expecting a million blitzes, and they're going to come in with a super quick hitter, outside shots, kind of lots of perimeter screens kind of game plan.
Totally.
So how they find their shots, I think, will determine what happens here. We haven't even begun to talk about the other side of the ball, because I know the Bears defense is good, and how the Vikings will move the ball on that is also going to be interesting. But for me, the way it comes down to is if I'm the Bears, I would honestly say, how about we just block with 8 and see if we can't find something downfield? Why are we working this hard? Let's just 7, 8 in protection, blitz all you want. We have everybody, and we're going to find a hole over the middle because you only have 5 guys in coverage, and play it that way. But if they don't do that, if they can find a way, whatever it is, if they can find a way to keep it downfield, to get those shot plays and not just turn into the Oregon Ducks, then then like I think that's the best chance the Bears have.
The problem is when you're leaving guys to block with 8, like you still need your third string left guard who's starting in this game to hold up.
Yeah.
If he's gonna have a one-on-one block there, like you're still counting on,
especially on third down,
give you 3 seconds there, and that works sometimes, but not all the time, and that's gonna be the real challenge.
Well, outside of stunts, they don't really rush the interior. Like Jonathan Bullard is a run player, Harrison Phillips is a run player. Like Jerry Tillery is probably their best interior pass rusher, and he's Jerry freaking Tillery. Like they don't really do it. And the way that they get you on the inside and beat the guard is by either stunting, so somebody like Andrew Van Ginkel, who's having a ridiculous season, or Jonathan Grenard, who's very good, will loop inside, and then he gets to go against the guard or the center. Or if it's third down, they bring out oops all edge rushers, and you have Patrick Jones in there, or Jihad Ward, or the Dallas Turner, the youngster in there. Who, well, they don't actually have him rush inside a lot. He'll go inside and then they'll bump Jonathan Grenard inside and like get that matchup that way. But that only happens on third down. So if your tackles can hold up, then the Vikings are going to have to do creative stuff. And a lot of times what it is it's going to be, can that guard beat Ivan Pace? Or is Ivan Pace going to like duck, dip, dive, and dodge and, flash his way in? And then I know DeAndre Swift is not practicing today. So who's going to be at running back and how is he in pass protection is also like really important.
And Roschon Johnson's their preferred pass protecting back anyway. And he's
so they work in their favor kind of
there. So he's
a better running back than DeAndre Swift. I'm sorry. That's sorry, Bears fans. That's the truth. I hate DeAndre Swift. I think he's been really bad this year.
And I think the same thing about Khalil Herbert, who they just traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, but that's a separate conversation. Real quick before we wrap up on the Bears defense versus the Vikings offense side.
Yes.
I would say been more and more cracks in Matt Eberflus's defense the last couple of weeks. Run defense has been bad pretty much all year. So it bodes well for Aaron Jones getting some things going, but the pass rush has slowed down the last few weeks as well. Montez Sweat hasn't been making the big impact plays, and they haven't had their other young guys. Like for a while, one of the young guys was kind of stepping up. Like 1 week it'd be Javon Dexter, 1 week it'd be Austin Booker. Like they kind of took turns stepping up, and it's been a little bit of a drought of like somebody needs to make some plays up front. And then when the quarterbacks have had a lot of time to throw, then it's a little bit too easy for them to get things rolling downfield. So I'm curious if they tighten up a little bit in this game, or if they keep slowly breaking apart more and more. By the way, with a third string safety looking to start next to Kevin Byard as well.
Interesting. So the Vikings really want long pockets. Like they want to hold the ball forever. Sam Darnold just likes to, but also the concepts that they run, especially the downfield shots, are like long developing. They're 7-step drop play action. Like they love a long pocket. So if all the defensive line needs is time, they will have the time to work with. And the Vikings will have to like block that up with Cam Robinson, and they actually benched Ed Ingram last week. They got Dalton Reisner in now at right guard. So it's a line that is not without problems, but has still been pretty solid.
Yeah, I think I think what it comes down to is then just, how devastating are the turnover opportunities? Do the Bears take advantage of it if Sam Darnold puts in harm's way? And if they do, is it a turnover in the end zone where the Bears offense still has to go 80 yards, so it doesn't really spring the offense, or is there a big return that sparks the Bears offense and makes their drive easier? Like the level of devastation of a turnover in either direction, I think, can go a long way towards swinging this in one spot or another. But safe to assume, Luke, you're feeling pretty good about a Vikings victory on Sunday.
Never in Soldier Field. I know better. It's a divisional game on the road that is always tough. I don't care what horrible spot the Bears are in. It's going to be a tough game. I think the spread is probably appropriate. Where they're favored on the road, but only by a little, but only by 3.5, right? Like I would even maybe say 2.5 is more appropriate, to give that hook point back because of that turnover thing. Like there's absolutely the world where Sam Darnold's brain falls out. He throws 3 turnovers and they're down 21-0 in the first quarter.
The Vikings have won 4 in a row at Soldier Field. I think it'll be closer than the record suggests.
They always play bad. Like the Justin Fields of it all notwithstanding. Okay. Like that's not, It's always tough to go on the division and win. You never take those for granted. I don't care how bad a team is. It's always tough.
Totally. I tend to agree. Like, I don't think this is going to be like a Vikings blowout that the way you think an 8-2 team versus a 4-7 team should go. But I do think the Vikings win one that's closer than Minnesota would like it to be, but maybe you're never quite super scared. Like, oh no, oh gosh, they're really going to beat us. It's like more like, oh man, they're keeping it closer than we like it to be for 4 quarters, but you'll finish out on top.
I think the big question too is, can the Bears pull out of the funk emotionally? Like the Hail Mary hurts, the Patriots game hurts, now this blocked kick hurts. Like every single thing has been such a gut punch. So if there is a swing of momentum where the Bears suddenly start believing again, I think a bunch of the things that happened in the last 3 games evaporate, because suddenly now you're playing with your hair on fire, and that's what you need to do.
There was a quote from Cole Kmet this week on his podcast where he said, he was talking to TJ Edwards, a linebacker. He's like, man, we both grew up watching this Bears team struggle. And like, now we're living it, man. Like, we're living what we watched growing up, and it sucks. So that's the state of being a Chicago Bears fan right now.
A tumultuous season.